So once you have your equipment, you're ready to start creating your footage and uploading it to YouTube. So what's the average day like for a YouTuber? How do you go from start to finish and save yourself as much time as possible? Well, everyone works differently, but it's certainly worth coming up with a workflow to minimize the amount of time and effort that will go into making videos. It's very important that your content be uploaded regularly in order to avoid losing your subscribers. And with that in mind, you need to be able to rely on a simple process to keep making more videos. To start with, you should try to keep an area in your home or studio ready for filming at all times. Designate a corner of an office or somewhere else to record your footage. That way, you won't have to get everything out and set everything up each time you want to film. It'll be there ready for you to go right away. This also means you can create a set for yourself and a backdrop. This is very important because it will once again greatly improve your professionalism. You don't want to record footage of yourself talking in front of an untidy bedroom with clothes strewn everywhere. Nor do you want to record in an untidy office or any other part of the home that just looks like someone's house, unless, of course, your niche is about something for the home. Rather, your aim is to make a professional looking set that will help to reinforce the lifestyle that you're trying to promote. Now, this might mean that you set up an area in your home to reflect what you're trying to say about yourself. And this could be a very clean and modern looking desk setup, for example, or it could be lots of comics and film merchandise. Another option is to use a completely white background, which is achievable with your lighting equipment and a white wall or even a bedsheet pulled taut, or to print out a large canvas or poster that you can use for your backdrop. Or you can use a system called chroma key and insert a background in post-production. Whatever you eventually decide, just make sure you have everything right where you need it, and you know just where to stand, and you have somewhere to prop a script. A good tip is to write yourself something of a script before you start, but to be generally quite relaxed in the way that you stick to this script. It's fine to work from it rather than reading it out verbatim. Another tip is to break your script down into lots of smaller pages. This way you can glance at the next section, perform it, and then move on to the next part. If you have a big enough storage card, then you can record everything in one take and then subsequently edit into a video that people will want to watch. But to do this, you also need to make it as easy as possible for yourself. You can do this by moving slightly each time you perform the next page. This will not only help you to see when you got the take right when looking at the footage in the editor, you'll know that the take just before you moved was the right one, but it'll also make it much more dynamic video as you'll be moving position on the camera as you speak. This makes it easier to edit in cuts too, as when you cut, you need to either keep your position the exact same or make it purposefully very different. You can't just move slightly, as this will look like an awkward twitch. Another tip is to clap at the start of each new section. Why? Because that will make it easier for you to see the audio spike in the editor. One more. When recording your footage, always leave long spaces before and after each take, and generally record much more than you think you're going to need. This will give you more to work with in editing. You should also set up your mic separately, remember, and if you're using a lapel mic, then you just need to plug in your phone and slip it in a pocket while you perform your shots. You can do this all in one take as well. Now, depending on the nature of your video, you might need to record some extra footage as well that you can use as inserts. A long video of someone talking is not normally very engaging, which is why you'll want to switch it up often with clips of other videos or with images. One way to do this is by collecting a B-roll. Now, this is insert footage of the product you're reviewing, of your location, or of anything else that is related to your subject matter. The way you'll then use this is to have your audio running continuously in the background and then switch the footage of you speaking for footage of your products or of the environment. Collecting B-roll is a definite skill and will involve using the tracking head and tripod as discussed earlier. Try checking out technology videos from the likes of Android Authority, Techno Buffalo, and The Verge, amongst others, and you'll find they always include shots of phones and computers next to pens and paper, or by running water, or in the middle of grass and plants. In any case, the environment helps to showcase the beauty of the design and engineering, and it makes the shot more interesting, than just a simple shot of a phone in someone's hands. This shows off that lifestyle again, and it makes everything look attractive and desirable. Once again, you can always record more than you think you're going to need. You've been surprised of just how quickly you can run out of B-roll while talking, so get as many shots as you can possibly think of. You can also use other types of insert footage. For example, you might want to use footage of yourself working out while talking about fitness, or you might want to use clips from other YouTube videos, being careful about copyright, of course. The latter you can accomplish by using various tools that allow you to download YouTube videos. A good choice is Hyper for YouTube, which you can download for free from the Windows Store. There are all manner of other ways to collect fun footage too. How about using a time-lapse, for example? Timelapse Pro is an app for Android, iOS and Windows, and it's perfect for creating time lapses of all kinds of things. Once everything is done, you're ready to edit your video. Open it up in your chosen video software and import it along with all the additional graphics, sounds and other materials you intend to use. You now want to sync up your audio to your video, and most programs offer easy ways for you to do this. In Adobe Premiere, for example, it's a simple matter of right-clicking on both and then selecting Synchronize and then by audio track. Now the audio will be in sync, and you can just put the video on mute so that it's replaced by the high-quality audio you recorded separately. Now, just link the audio and the footage so that any edits you make will affect both, as though they were recorded at the same time from the start. You'll want to line all this up so that you have all your footage in order and so that there are no awkward pauses. It's also important to keep things moving and to keep things dynamic all the way through. If you're using lots of B-roll, then you should make sure you move from panning shot to panning shot. It should never be motionless or you'll lose focus. So make sure that you record lots of footage so that you have lots to work with, but then edit heavily too so that you're losing lots of it. Once everything is in order and the sound is lined up, you can then start to insert your extra footage and lay this over the top, intersperse it. Normally, you'll keep the audio going continuously and just cut back your video as you do this. If you watch the aforementioned Android Authority videos, then you'll notice that they tend not to have much of themselves talking at all. They have a clip at the start and at the end, and perhaps one or two in the middle, and the rest is all B-roll. Finally, try adding the video opener, any bottom thirds, and your logo and your music, and make sure that you get the audio balance right with the music, and consider using a small introduction before the opener. These final touches will give your video a real air of professionalism while helping to really drive home your branding. Now you just need to save your video in a format that YouTube likes, such as MP4, and then start to upload it to your YouTube account. All this can take a fair bit of time, so be sure to leave yourself time unless you have a really fast connection. And this will be even truer if you're using 4K footage. A tip is to use Chrome to upload. Google made Chrome and they own YouTube, so the two play nicely together. If your upload is interrupted and you're using Chrome, then you'll be able to resume it from where you left off later on, even if the computer's been turned off. While your video uploads, you can use the time to fill out a few of the extra details that YouTube requires from you. YouTube will ask if you want to monetize your video with ads, for example. And of course the answer is yes, as long as you aren't overtly selling anything in it. Likewise, you'll be able to write your title, your description, and your keywords. Make sure that your title is descriptive of your video while also being something that people will want to search for and something that people will be tempted to click on when they see it. We'll go into this in more detail in a subsequent video. Finally, make yourself a thumbnail to act as the image that people are going to see before they click on your video. If you don't do this, then YouTube will select a still from the video itself, and while this can work, it might not give potential viewers the right impression of what your video is all about. The right thumbnail image can make a huge difference by making your video much more appealing and impressive looking when it appears in the feed. The best way to make money on YouTube and become a massive YouTube celebrity is to actually get out in front of the camera and speak to your audience in person. You want them to get to know you, and you want to put your personality across in your videos. This will help to make you considerably more persuasive while simultaneously giving you many more options in terms of what you can create. And if you're going to do that, there's some crucial equipment and software you're going to need to invest in. This can be somewhat expensive, but if all goes to plan, it will pay for itself over time and it will be money well spent. Just as a note here, if you're not comfortable going in front of the camera, you can still be very successful with a YouTube channel, and this will reduce what you need to invest in. We'll discuss these alternative options in subsequent videos, so you can skip most of this one for now if that's your intention. Let's look at some of the hardware you'll need. Of course, the most basic hardware you're going to need is a camera, and this is what you'll use to capture your footage, and that means the quality of the camera is going to directly influence the quality of your videos. There are numerous factors to consider in this case. One is the resolution, and here you'll need at least 1080 pixels. For now, most people still do not have a 4K display, meaning that you don't need a 4K camera, and 4K creates very large video files which are hard to move around and edit. But if you want to offer the utmost crispness and also future-proof your setup, then choosing 4K is a great option. Another option is your frame rate. Now, this will generally be either 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. Once again, 60 frames per second is an optional advantage which will make your footage that much more attractive and give it an almost too real sense of fluidity. It's entirely up to you if you want to push for this very highest level of quality, but some discerning viewers will certainly appreciate it if you do. Some features to look out for include an optical zoom if you're planning on filming outdoors, and this lets you zoom in with no loss of quality, and options to alter the aperture, etc. Good autofocus is very important if you'll be moving around a lot in front of the camera, while being able to use macros to blur out the background is also a nice option. But what's more important really are the practical considerations for your camera. Having a mic jack, for example, is a very good idea because it will give you the ability to improve your sound quality. Likewise, a wide-angle lens is a very good idea if you're going to be moving around a lot and capturing dynamic footage. Something that you should also absolutely consider a requirement is a screen that can be rotated to face forward. This will allow you to make sure that you're in the shot before you start vlogging. And of course, there's no reason you can't do all this using multiple cameras. Many people will use both a GoPro for capturing more action-packed dynamic footage and then a regular camera for their vlogging. If you want to go budget, then you can get by using an iPhone camera or a Samsung camera on your phone, as long as it's a newer model. But if you're serious, then you should at least invest in a basic camera along the lines of, say, a Canon G7. Also important is to get a tripod. Is it possible to film without one? Well, sure, you can always balance your camera on a pile of books on top of an ironing board. But you'll find out that lining up good shots ends up taking a lot more time than you will be willing to go through on a regular basis if you take this approach. A tripod will thus save you a huge amount of time while also getting better angles, thereby giving your channel a higher quantity and quality of videos, which is obviously going to be a very good thing in terms of getting lots of views. Another thing to look for potentially here is a tracking head from the likes of Manfrotto, who also make tripods. This will allow you to attach your camera on top of your tripod and then let you perform panning shots and slow zooms. This is what will give your footage a much higher level of professionalism, and it's very important if you're planning on doing product reviews and want to feature slow pans of the items you're reviewing. These work by providing friction on a rotating pivot and a handle. You then gently push on the handle with just a finger or a palm, and the resistance will keep the motion slow and smooth as it gradually moves around the object in focus. It's important to use a manual focus during these shots rather than an automatic one. It's often said that the best lighting is natural lighting. To get a great shot, try to line yourself up so that you have a large window letting in natural light from the side. This will give you what's known as Rembrandt lighting, which is a professional and very flattering looking type of lighting. But while this type of lighting is highly desirable, it's not terribly reliable. You can't trust in natural light to always be available when you need it, and you can't limit yourself to only filming at certain times of the day. So you need to make sure you have a way to set up the perfect lighting when you need it. How are you going to do that? Well, with some kind of lighting setup. And a great choice is to get two soft boxes. Now, these take up a fair bit of space, but it's worth it as it will allow you to design your lighting however you wish and make sure that your subject matter is well lit and that your footage is clear and bright. Now, don't underestimate this. In fact, in many cases, it can be more important to ensure your footage is very light and very bright than it is to use a camera with a high definition. This will make your footage look more professional and more appealing to watch. Want to go one step further? Well, depending on the nature of your videos, you can get creative here if you want. Jonathan Morrison has a YouTube channel that's all about showcasing technology products in the very best possible way and making them highly desirable. This gets him a lot of views and helps him to sell a lot of affiliate products, which of course means that manufacturers are happy to work with him and to supply free products for review. One trick he uses to accomplish this is to use colored lighting. He'll often light phones and other gadgets in a bright pink, green or purple hue on a white background, which makes them look more modern and more crisp, especially with his high-quality video equipment. The great thing is that colored bulbs are actually very affordable, so this is something you can mimic fairly easily yourself, should you want to. Just like it's important not to underestimate the importance of your lighting, you also need to ensure that you never underestimate the importance of your sound quality. If you want to make your video look and sound professional, then it's absolutely crucial that you have good quality sound and don't just get a muffled sound into a regular camera microphone from a distance. Things like acoustics matter, and even if your viewers don't notice the difference, they'll be able to feel the difference. Things like this make a massive psychological impact and can be the difference between a channel that has high production values and that people love to watch, and one that looks unprofessional and that nobody takes seriously. Fortunately, sound is a relatively easy thing to get right, and the best way to do this is with a basic external microphone. You can get a lapel mic, also known as a lavalier mic, easily enough, and then attach it to your phone or camera to record your audio at the same time. Better yet, find a high-quality microphone that you can plug directly into your camera's mic jack. The Blue Yeti Snowball microphone is one of the most popular choices among YouTubers right now, and it is a very affordable option that will provide a crisp and clear sound quality very easily. As well as hardware, you'll also need to invest in some basic software and other intangibles. The most obvious thing here is your editing software, which you're going to use to take your footage and turn it into something that has a narrative structure and that's actually fun to watch. There are plenty of options here, which include Sony Vegas, Final Cut Pro X, iMovie, and Adobe Premiere with After Effects. Your choice will depend on personal preference, budget, and your computer. But either way, you will need a professional editing suite in order to make your videos look the part. This is what you'll use to cut and stitch together your footage, and it's what you'll use to add things like music and logos. There are numerous graphics you'll also want to add to your videos. For example, you'll probably find you need some kind of logo to overlay on top of your videos if you want to build a brand. This is important as it will help to ensure people know who you are and that your videos and content are from the same creator. A good logo should be coupled with a good name, and ideally, the two together should be enough to communicate everything new viewers need to know about your brand. If you get this just right, then people should be able to tell from those things alone whether they be interested in your channel and potentially subscribe with no further information. Other graphics will also come in handy. For example, you might want to use bottom thirds, which you will overlay on top of your video as a way to annotate what's happening on the screen. Then you might want to find some stock images that you can use to illustrate points that you're making or that you can use in conjunction with your recorded footage. On top of this, you'll need to look into video and sound for your videos. One important thing here is a video opener, which is a short clip that will play at the start of your videos and help you to further cement your brand while indicating that the video has started. Music can be very useful and would allow you to make your videos a lot more engaging while also being able to invite emotional responses. So, where do you find all these extra materials? One answer is to pay for your materials to be created on a site like Fiverr or Upwork. These sites will allow you to find freelancers who can create your materials for you and make them look very professional. Again, it's a small investment, but it's very much worth it, seeing as how much use you'll be getting out of these things. With what we've said so far, you should now have a good idea of how to run your channel and keep adding new exciting content. But at first, you're going to find it a wholly unrewarding process. You'll upload your first video after spending ages working to get it just right, and then no one will click on it. If you're lucky, your first video might land you 100 views, and it will probably take months to get to that point. More likely, you'll have 3 views, and one of them will be your mother. Then you have to make another video and another, and it'll feel like you're wasting all that time and effort. Well, the first thing to recognize is this is not a waste. For starters, you're building your audience this way, but at the same time, it's worth noting that you'll be able to reuse your old footage. There's no reason that you can't promote those old videos once you have a much bigger audience, so don't worry if nobody sees them right away. And at the same time, you should start looking at ways to help people find your videos and begin generating momentum for your channel. Now, there are a few different things that you can do here that will help. Now, let's take a look at them. Now, this might sound very obvious, but of course, making content with a very popular subject matter is going to help you get more views. And better yet, making content that has a big dedicated audience, or that is not an overly crowded audience, will help you to stand out and get noticed amongst the crowd. Let's say you're making opinion videos about computer games. A great way to make sure that you get noticed is to make a video about Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic is a somewhat divisive figure in the video gaming community, but there is a huge die-hard audience for him out there. If you make a video on Sonic, you can almost rest assured that it will get thousands of views and likes just from people searching for new content on their favorite mascot. Got a football channel? Then how about making a video about a smaller local team? There won't be that much content out there on this team, which means those fans will only have your video to satisfy their appetite. Again, this can be a good way to find a huge audience and build on it. Got a fitness channel? Well, try making a video on Bruce Lee. He's such an iconic figure that nearly any video on him is bound to get tons of likes and follows. YouTube uses numerous different metrics in order to determine if a video is popular and whether it should be promoted. One of these is how long the video is viewed for and how often it gets likes. So if your videos get watched all the way through every time and get thousands of likes, then your channel is going to look very popular and you're going to see your videos climbing the ranks of YouTube. This is another very good reason to make your content shorter, because it means that 3 minutes is now 100% of your video instead of 20%. Another tip is to give your viewers a reason to stick around. Tell them at the start of your video about something exciting coming up at the end, for instance. If you were trying to promote a website, then one of the ways you'd do so would be to use keywords. These are terms that people regularly search for when they use Google, and by lacing these into your content, you can ensure that Google will make the connection. Well, you can't do this in your videos because Google can't search the content of what you're saying. Well, yet. But what you can do is choose relevant keywords to add to the video when you upload it. Now, these should be things that people are likely to search for, as well as things that will make your video come up in the suggested videos at the right time. The way to get this right is to look for popular subjects, but at the same time, you want to make sure that the phrases you pick really are relevant. You're not trying to trick people into watching your videos here. All that will do is to get them to turn off very quickly. If you want to find good search terms, you can use Google AdWords Keyword Planner. Now, this will tell you what people are searching for on Google, and it might be different from what people are searching for on YouTube, but it will nevertheless be similar at least. But you can also just use a little common sense here. When you create your videos, try to think what people might be searching for when looking for that content. It works very similarly to hashtags in Instagram or on Twitter. Likewise, you can also use keywords in your video title and even in your description. In general, it's important to make sure you add lots of content to your description and write about what viewers can expect to see in the videos. Not only can this be a great way to offer more additional value to your visitors by letting them sift through the key points, but it'll also give YouTube more content to use to learn about your videos. You have a YouTube profile, and this is something that can also come up in searches. So you want to optimize this for YouTube SEO, in other words, search engine optimization, just as you're optimizing your videos themselves with the keywords and descriptions. This means making sure you fill out your About page by adding lots of content into your description section. In your home page, you can also make your channel more appealing by adding playlists so that people can quickly find different types of content from you, and this way you can separate your content into different categories. You can also create a channel advert, which will be a video that introduces people to your channel and encourages them to subscribe. Add a profile image, a banner image, and be sure to link all of your social media accounts as well. All of this will help YouTube see that you're on the ball as far as content creation goes, which in turn will mean your videos get more promotion. So let's say someone is watching a video in the same niche as your channel and they see your video come up as a suggested video because of the keywords you used. If you have the right thumbnail and the right video title, it'll make your video appealing enough that people just can't avoid watching it. A brilliant example of this comes from Yo Elliott. Elliott Hulse is a strength training YouTuber who talks mainly about lifting weights and getting stronger. But despite this, he's managed to become almost a household name and is well known outside of fitness circles. Why? Because of his Yo Elliott series. These feature him asking questions that viewers have. These really speak to that value proposition that we discussed earlier and talk about things anyone can relate to and benefit from. These are the things that will get an emotional reaction from people and that they will think can help make their lives better. Just check out some of these video titles. How to approach women. Give mini orgasms. How to destroy self-doubt. Masturbation gives me energy to work out. How to confidently command respect. When is it okay to fight? What guy doesn't want to give women mini orgasms and confidently command respect? Whatever you think about this kind of content, there's no denying that it certainly stands out, and it's easy to see why people click on it. And even if you think it's probably garbage, a lot of people will click on it just to see what kind of garbage it is. It's interesting to see what he's going to say. You don't need to use this exact method, but just keep in mind that you can make your titles much more clickable by offering something that promises real value, that stands out, and that people will really want to hear. Finally, there's no reason you can't simply post your videos in order to share them. Don't be afraid to post your videos on Reddit or on Google Plus in the relevant communities. This way, you can find the audience that will enjoy your content the most and get a lot of quick views. The tips in the last video will all help people to find your videos. But there are also some basic marketing strategies you can opt to use to help your channel grow faster overall too. Watch any of the big YouTube channels and you'll find that they end in pretty much the same way, with the creators asking their viewers to like, share, and subscribe. This is the simplest way to get more subscribers, and it works very well. A lot of people are more than happy to like your content. It just doesn't occur to them, or they don't realize quite how much it helps you. Just asking can make all the difference by making it easy and reminding them. Another very important tip when growing your following on YouTube is to look for other YouTubers that you can partner up with. If you watch any big channel, you'll find that very often it will work with other big channels and feature guest appearances from other creators or just mention those other creators. A channel that does this very well is Vsauce, which features answers to many fascinating questions. Michael Stevens is the creator of this channel, and he is almost always recommending other creators or having them come on to talk about their areas of special knowledge. This is essentially influencer marketing. It means you're finding an influencer, in other words, anyone with a large existing audience, and getting them to promote you. The key to success in this arena is not to try and be too ambitious right away. In other words, you're probably not going to get a shout out from Vsauce unless you're already pretty huge. Instead, try and find someone who is about the same size as you and in a similar niche and ask if they want to do a crossover video with you. This way, you both stand to gain by exposing each other to your respective audiences. This will give you a boost in numbers, which means you can try and reach out to someone even larger next time. If you don't have any luck with this right away, you can also try just giving people free mentions, and you may find that those creators are flattered by it and see fit to do the same for you in kind. Try not to view other creators in your community as your competitors. Instead, view them as colleagues and think of the niche as a community of creators. This way, you'll be able to ingratiate yourself into that community and work with them to help get yourself known while delivering something new for their viewers. Of course, YouTube's advertising platform is not just a way for you to make money. It can also be a way for you to spend money on your own adverts. This way, you can create an advert that will show at the start of other videos and bring people to your channel. This costs money though, so it's not going to be a good option unless you already have a good form of monetization set up, and that needs to be more than just advertising. If your YouTube channel is the start of an effective sales funnel that leads people to buy a high-ticket item, you can calculate your LCV, that's lifetime customer value, and then decide how much you're willing to spend on ads. If you choose to go down this route, then it can be very effective. Just take a look at the success of Tai Lopez thanks to his Here in My Garage ads, even if he is pretty much despised by half of the net. Finally, make sure that you aren't doing all of your promotion on YouTube. The best way to look at YouTube is as one part of a much broader strategy to build your brand and build trust and influence across the web. This means you should be on social media, and this will give you a way to share your content as you build more followers. Think of this as a virtuous cycle and try to focus on the synergy between your social channels and your YouTube channel. You can ask people to follow you on Twitter and Facebook in your videos, and then use Facebook and Twitter to bring more people back to your YouTube channel and hopefully get more shares among the broader network. This will help to make your brand feel more like a movement rather than a one-man show, and should help you to build genuine followers. Your blog, meanwhile, can serve a similar role, and you can use this to add additional content to your videos. This will make it easier for your videos to be found on Google and will give your fans a base where they can enjoy your content when they don't have the option of watching YouTube. The key to good branding is to be everywhere, and just because YouTube is your focus, that doesn't mean you should ignore other channels. There's an awful lot to take on board here, but the most important thing to always keep in mind is that you're aiming to provide value and to offer something different. You can be smart about the way you do this in order to minimize your work and to maximize your exposure, but the key is to be genuine, to be interesting, and to really work on the quality and production values. It's also important to be consistent and to keep plugging away. Don't expect fame to come overnight, and don't expect your first video to get 1,000 views. This takes a lot of time and dedication, and you need to be consistently and reliably churning out high quality video if you're going to convince people to subscribe and keep coming back. But if you're smart and you're determined, then there's no reason you can't make it with the very best of them, and once the hits start coming, things will start to take off fast. And trust me, it's more than worth it.